The land is quiet. Before armies arrive, it always is. Grass bends under morning wind. Fog hangs low across shallow hills. This place will not remember peace for long. In medieval Europe, war is not sudden. It is expected. It moves like weather. Kings do not meet on battlefields. Their soldiers do. Steel marches before voices. Banners arrive before words. Across this valley, two worlds approach each other. On one side, knights, armor polished, horses trained for impact, generations of tradition behind every crest. On the other, men with wood and string, longbows taller than their bodies, hands hardened by years of practice, clothes stained by rain and soil. They are not dressed for glory, they are dressed for function. The knight represents power, status, lineage. The archer represents labor, discipline, repetition. Both are here for the same purpose, to decide who leaves. Medieval warfare is built around shock, a mounted charge, a wall of steel, a moment where fear breaks lines. Knights are trained for that moment. Their entire role is movement, speed, impact. They are meant to end battles quickly. But this field is not made for speed. Rain has softened the ground. Mud grips boots. Mud grips hooves. The land itself resists motion. English commanders know this. They choose where to stand. They do not chase the enemy. They wait. Archers are placed on higher ground, not to look impressive, but to see everything. Stakes are driven into the soil in front of them, simple wood, sharpened at one end, not decoration, not warning, obstruction. This is not a battlefield built for knights. It is built for time. Longbows are raised, not yet drawn. Quivers are full, not yet opened. Across the field, banners shift. The other army prepares to move. Armor catches light through fog. Metal reflects gray sky. The distance between them is long, but not long enough. This battle will not be decided by courage. It will be decided by space. Because arrows do not care about titles. They care about distance. The first command is given, quietly, not shouted. Hands move, strings tighten. The field holds its breath. The air changes. And then the sky begins to move. The men with bows are not nobles. They are trained from childhood. Every Sunday, every season, every year. Their villages are shaped by targets and distance, not by banners. They do not learn how to charge. They learn how to wait. The longbow is not a weapon of moments. It is a weapon of habits. A bow this size is not carried for show. It bends the body. It reshapes the shoulders. It leaves marks on the hands. An archer's strength is visible long before battle, in posture, in movement, in silence. Across the field, knights prepare differently. They adjust armor, check straps, test the weight of steel on their shoulders. Their training is not repetition, it is ceremony. They learn how to be seen, how to ride, how to hold position in formation. The battlefield is where their status becomes visible. The archer's status disappears there. Both sides understand this, but neither side says it. Wind shifts across the valley. It carries sound from one line to the other. Metal tapping against metal, leather tightening, horses breathing hard through their noses. This is not tension, this is measurement. Distance is counted by sight, by slope, by ground texture. Commanders walk the line. They do not shout, they point. Small movements that decide large outcomes. The stakes in the ground are tested again, pushed deeper, angled slightly. They are simple tools, but they define the shape of what is about to happen. The archers stand behind them, not because they are protected, but because they have already decided where the fight will take place. The fog thins. Across the field, the opposing line becomes clearer. Armor reflects weak light. Horses shift their weight. A banner lifts higher than the others. It signals readiness. No one moves yet. This moment does not belong to courage. It belongs to patience. The first side to move gives the other side time. The archers wait. They do not raise their bows, they rest them. Their fingers touch the string lightly, not pulling, not preparing, just feeling. This is the last moment where the field is neutral. Once the first arrow leaves the bow, the land chooses a side. The air grows still. Even the wind seems to pause. And in that pause, everything that came before stops mattering. Titles, armor, lineage, training. All of it waits for one motion. The sky is empty. For now.
The first arrows rise together. Not one, not 10, hundreds. They leave the strings with a low, sharp sound, like fabric tearing the air. They do not fly straight. They climb. For a moment, they seem to stop, dark lines suspended against pale cloud. Then gravity takes them. They fall, not like spears, like weather. The sound arrives before the impact, a thin hiss that spreads across the field. Knights look up. Armor is made for the front, for the side, for the charge. It is not made for above. The first arrows strike shields. Some break, some glance away. Others pass through gaps. A horse reacts before its rider. It shifts, it pulls. The line moves unevenly. The second wave is already coming. Archers do not aim at men, they aim at space, distance, slope, wind. Each release is calculation, not emotion. Hands move in rhythm, draw, release, step, repeat. The sky fills again. Metal begins to sound different, not sharp, dull, impact without movement. A knight loses grip on his reins, not from fear, from force. Another turns his horse sideways. The formation opens. Open space invites more arrows. Mud starts to matter. Hooves sink, boots drag. What should be speed becomes effort. Effort becomes time. Time becomes exposure. Archers keep firing. Their arms burn, their shoulders tighten, their fingers harden around the string, but the rhythm does not stop. They do not look at what they hit. They look at how fast they can send the next shaft. The field changes shape. Where there was a line, there are now pockets. Where there was motion, there is hesitation. Orders are shouted, but wind and impact swallow sound. Trumpets call, but fog bends direction. Men begin to move without instruction. Some press forward, some pull back. Both meet the same sky. A rider falls. His armor makes a sound like stone hitting stone. He does not rise quickly. Not in this ground, not with this weight. The archers see this. They do not cheer.
They adjust. More arrows land where movement slows, where shapes hesitate. The sky becomes a pattern, dark, light, dark, a cycle that does not care who stands beneath it. The knights lower their heads, not in defeat, in survival. They push forward into falling steel. This is not a charge anymore. It is a crossing. Across a field that does not want them to cross it. And above them, the sky keeps moving. The rain begins to mix with dust in the air. It turns the field into a skin of wet earth and steel. Arrows continue to fall, not in a single wave, in steady cycles. The sound becomes familiar. Hiss, impact, silence, then again. Knights try to close ranks. They pull toward banners, toward color, toward something that still looks like order. But the ground does not care about banners. A horse stumbles, not from fear, from footing. Two riders collide, not as enemies, as obstacles. Their armor locks together briefly, then they separate, not by strength, by gravity. Archers notice the change. They shift their angle, not left, not right, down. Arrows no longer search for distance, they search for stillness, where men slow, where horses hesitate, where space closes in. The field becomes a map, not of sides, of movement. A group of knights reaches the stakes, the wooden points hold, not against bodies, against momentum. Horses stop short, rear back, turn sideways. The line breaks into fragments. Some riders dismount, not as a tactic, as a necessity. Armor that protects on horseback becomes weight on the ground. The archers see figures drop into the mud. They do not change expression, they change pace, faster, closer. The distance between sky and ground shrinks. Arrows land with shorter arcs now, lower, more direct. The sound shifts again, from rain to impact. A knight raises a shield overhead. It catches two shafts. A third slips past. He drops to one knee. The battle is no longer wide. It is narrow. It exists in small spaces, between boots, between hooves, between breaths. Wind carries shouts across the field, but words are lost in motion. Men move by instinct now, not command. The archers feel it. They feel when the field stops being a place and becomes a series of moments, each moment brief, each moment exposed. The sky darkens again, not from clouds, from repetition, and beneath it, the shape of power continues to change.
When power loses its shape, the arrows slow, not because the archers stop, because the field stops moving. What was once a line becomes space. What was once motion becomes weight. Men stand where they fell, not in formation, in place. Knights dismount, some by choice, some by gravity. Armor that once gave height now takes it away. On foot, steel is not protection, it is burden. Mud pulls at every step. The ground does not release easily. Archers lower their bows, not to rest, to change tools. Knives, hammers, anything that fits in a hand. The distance collapses. This is no longer sky against earth, it is body against body. The field sounds different now. Breathing, water, metal dragged across stone. A fallen knight tries to rise. He rolls, then stops. The weight does the rest. Around him, boots pass, not as enemies, as movement. Status disappears here. There are no banners in the mud.
no colors that mean anything, only positions, above, below. A group of knights gathers near a broken cart. They form a circle, shields up, not to advance, to hold. Archers watch. They do not rush, they do not shout, they wait for space to open. A horse stands without a rider. Its reins trail through water. It does not move forward, it does not move back. It stands in the middle of what remains. The field begins to empty in sections, not at all at once. Small groups pull away, toward hills, toward trees, toward anything that looks like cover. Others stay. Some cannot move. Some do not try. The afternoon light shifts. Shadows grow longer across broken ground. What once looked like an army now looks like a collection of moments. A man kneeling, a man walking, a man lying still. The pattern of the battle disappears. The result remains. Archers step forward carefully. They test the ground with their boots. They do not chase, they claim space. Every step forward is a line that does not move back. The knights feel this, not as defeat, as absence. The absence of momentum, the absence of direction. This is where power changes form, not loudly, quietly. The image of the charge fades. The image of the wall fades. What remains is control of ground. Who stands where and who does not. In the distance, banners fall, not torn down, dropped. Fabric sinks into the mud. The field does not record names, it records weight, where pressure was, where it lifted. The archers do not celebrate. They look outward, toward the edges of the valley. They look for what might still move, because this is not an ending, it is a shift, a moment where the old shape of war no longer fits the land it stands on. The afternoon continues, and the field begins to belong to those who wait, not those who charge. The valley does not react, it absorbs. Sound fades into distance, movement becomes isolated. A man helps another stand, not as a knight, as a body. They move toward the edge of the field, slowly, carefully. Archers watch from higher ground. They do not pursue, they hold. Holding is now the victory. A group of soldiers gathers near a line of trees. They look back once, then stop looking. The wind moves through leaves. It carries the smell of wet earth. The afternoon light changes again. It flattens shadows. It makes the field look wider than it is. A broken shield rests against a stone. No one reaches for it. A helmet fills with rainwater. The surface reflects the sky. What once covered a face now holds clouds. Time stretches here, not in minutes, in waiting. Some men sit where they fell. They remove gloves. They touch the ground, as if to confirm it is still there. The archers step forward again, one line at a time. They mark space with their presence, not with flags, with bodies. This is how ground becomes controlled, not taken. A knight stands alone near a fallen banner. He does not lift it. He looks at the field instead. Around him, nothing moves fast. Even the wind feels slow. The idea of return fades here, not because it is impossible, because it no longer feels necessary. The system that brought them here does not exist in this moment. Only terrain, only light, only position. The archers stop at a shallow rise. They turn. They look back across what used to be a battlefield, not as winners, as observers, because this space is no longer a contest. It is a record. Every step that crossed it, every body that rested on it. The shape of the afternoon is fixed now, not by law, not by command, by where movement ended and where it did not begin again.
Night settles across the valley in slow layers, not as a moment, but as a process that moves from hill to field and then to the narrow road that leaves the ground behind. The men who remain do not speak. They stand where they stopped, breathing in air that has cooled and carries the smell of wet earth and metal. Small lights appear along the distant path, torches and lanterns moving away from the valley toward walls that will soon close. Inside those walls, people will not wait for stories. They will wait for numbers, for footsteps that arrive or do not, for names that are spoken, and for the silence that follows the names that are not answered. The battle does not stay where it happened. It travels with the spaces it leaves behind. It follows the road in the shape of absence, in the empty places at tables, and the armor that is set down near a fire, or never set down at all. The sky clears slowly. Stars appear one by one above ground that no longer moves. Wind passes through tall grass and bends it, then lets it rise again. The land begins its quiet work. Water settles in low places, mud firms, edges soften, footprints lose their shape and become part of the soil. By morning, the field will look ordinary, not empty, just less specific. What happened here will be harder to point to and easier to summarize. This is how events become history, not by being remembered in detail, but by being simplified into something that can travel faster than the ground itself. Travelers will cross this valley. They will see hills, sky, and a road that leads somewhere else. They will not see the afternoon beneath their steps. Stories will reach them first, shorter than distance and lighter than weight, shaped into a charge, a volley, a victory. What will not travel is the waiting, the pause before movement, the moment before the sky changed direction. That part stays here, in the shape of the land and the way the ground holds what pressed against it. Future armies will feel this without naming it. They will measure space before they move. They will look at the sky not only as weather, but as possibility. They will stand where others once stood and wait, even when they cannot explain why waiting feels necessary. The first light of morning touches the far hills, not as a beginning, but as a continuation. The valley does not reset, it layers. What happened here becomes part of what will happen next, carried forward in the quiet design of distance, repetition, and position. The road remains, the field remains, the sky remains, and between them, the method remains. Silence holds. The valley begins to wake again, but not in the way it did before the day changed. Light spreads slowly across the ground, revealing shapes that no longer move and spaces that no longer close. The air carries the sound of distant life returning, carts on far roads, voices beyond hills, and doors opening in places that never saw the field. Farmers step into their land and pause when they see the marks left behind. They do not ask who stood here, they ask what will grow here now. The soil has been pressed and turned, not by tools, but by weight and motion, and it will hold that change long after memory fades. The road that leaves the valley becomes busy again. Messengers pass, travelers follow. None of them stop for long. The field is something they move past, not something they stay with. What remains with them are words, shorter than distance and lighter than truth, shaped into simple lines that fit inside a single breath. Somewhere beyond the hills, names are written into records. Some are crossed out, some are never written at all.
The system continues, not because it remembers the field, but because it does not need to. It only needs the result. The land does not carry those names, it carries pressure. Where horses stood, where boots dragged, where bodies rested. It keeps those marks until rain and time decide otherwise. Children will walk this road in years to come. They will run across the rise and feel the ground change under their feet. They will not know why the earth is uneven. They will not be told. The valley will not explain itself. Stories will become cleaner as they move away from this place. A charge, a volley, a victory. The waiting will be removed. The hesitation will be forgotten. The space between movement and stillness will disappear from the telling. What survives is the pattern, the idea that distance can decide before contact, that repetition can shape outcome more than force, that position can hold ground longer than motion. This is what remains when the field becomes ordinary again. Not the sound of steel, not the color of banners, but a method that slips quietly into the way future battles are imagined. The light climbs higher, the mist thins, the valley looks like any other place. Only the ground knows it is not.
Long after the field has emptied, the valley continues without attention. Wind moves through grass and stone without memory. Water returns to channels shaped by older storms. Nothing here marks victory. Nothing marks defeat. The ground only remembers pressure and release. In distant towns, words begin to settle into shape. A battle becomes a sentence. A moment becomes a lesson. Names are kept or removed, depending on who carries the story forward. What remains is not what happened. It is what is useful to remember. Families listen for news that never arrives on time. They measure days by footsteps outside doors, by the sound of carts passing streets that do not stop. Absence becomes a presence of its own. It fills rooms. It changes how people move inside them. The city records what it can count: land, equipment, loss. It does not record the empty space at tables or the pauses in conversation. Those remain private, carried forward without paper, without seal, without signature. Over years, the story grows simpler. Archers become a line. Nights become a symbol. The afternoon becomes a turning point that fits inside a paragraph. What disappears is the waiting, the hesitation, the time between movement and stillness. The field becomes ordinary again. The road becomes just a road. The valley becomes another place people pass through without stopping. History moves forward by selecting what stays visible. What falls behind is not erased. It is absorbed into land, into memory, into silence.